Hey guys, tonight we awaken under an unforgiving sky, footsteps swallowed by shifting dunes that stretch into infinity. You probably won't survive this, but we're here to find out. You trudge upright in blinding light, sand clinging to every pore, and inhale the arid scent of baked earth. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. You scan the horizon as the sun peeks over the dune, crests casting long shadows that dance at your feet. You probably won't survive this reality check, inundated with scorching heat and blistering winds. Your water is scarce, your gear is scant, and every breath tastes of desolation. Post your location and local time below so we can share this moment together in solidarity. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You open your eyes to a landscape that feels more like a painting than real life. Rolling dunes bathed in the peach light of dawn, their curves etched in fine granules that shift with every whisper of wind. Your mouth feels like a parched cavern, and as you sit up, grit clatters from your clothes. You pinch the corners of your eyes shut, blinking away the first flecks of sand. That moment of discomfort reminds you this is no mirage. You're here alone with empty flasks and a single battered canteen. The horizon holds no landmarks, no promise of respite, only waves of golden sand that rise and fall with agonizing regularity. You stretch out a hand to steady yourself, fingertips sinking into the dune's spine. The coarse grains press into your skin, cold now, but destined to bake hot as the sun climbs higher. You steady your breathing, feeling each lungful draw in rough, sun-dried air. You recall that crocodile dung sunscreen you scoffed at earlier, now as you rub your arms. You're grateful for the fleeting sting that reminds you you're alive. Above you, the sky is a pale dome, gradually washing toward white, and in that brightness, the world feels infinite and oppressive at once. You push onto your feet, boots half buried, and you test the slope too steep to climb directly. But climbing is useless when the sand crumbles beneath each step. There's no path, no signpost, just the relentless rhythm of dune upon dune. You straighten your shoulders and pull your pack forward, feeling its weight become a constant companion. In it lies a battered compass whose needle quivers uselessly in the heat, and a half-empty water reservoir that now feels like both a lifeline and a cruel tease. You tuck the canteen against your torso and head toward the nearest crest, determined to find a vantage point. Each step feels like a betrayal. Your feet sink, muscles strain, but you grit your teeth and press on. With every stride, the grains shift underfoot, reminding you that no progress is ever permanent. The sun now peaks fully above the horizon, and hot shafts of light pierce your vision. Sweat beads instantly along your hairline, trickles down your cheeks, and evaporates before it can reach your collarbone. When you finally crest that first dune, you gasp at the sight. More dunes. A sea of golden hills stretching in every direction, each peak sharp as a blade, each trough an abyss of shadow. Your heart hammers not purely from exertion, but from the crushing realization that your desert is boundless. You scan left, then right, trying to locate any sign of life, an acacia tree, a rock outcrop, anything. But the desert offers no such mercy. Your stomach growls, and the canteen nickers in protest. You trail a finger over the dusty fabric of your pack, finding the zipper for your emergency ration. Nothing more than a few dense bars that taste of sawdust and regret. You set one aside and tuck another in the pocket of your ragged shirt. Hunger pangs are distant compared to the burning need for water, but they're a reminder that your body is a machine running out of fuel. You take a cautious sip from the canteen. The fluid is warm, but that brief relief settles in your throat like a lifeline. You remind yourself, conserve, ration, prioritize. Each drop is a promise, and you vow silently not to waste a single one. You tilt your head back and let the liquid slide down, tasting nothing but metal and weariness. You stand motionless on that dune for a moment, feeling the full weight of isolation. No birds cry overhead, no insects hum, only the hiss of wind brushing past. You shut your eyes and remember backyard stargazing trips when you first dreamed of adventure, long before you'd seen a grain of sand this vast. That memory brings both comfort and pain comfort, because it grounds you pain, because reality has turned your dreams to dust. You exhale, open your eyes, and shift your gaze forward. There's no turning back. The desert demands that you move. You adjust your pack, check your compass once more, and pick a bearing. With that, you descend the dune's leeward side, grains cascading around your boots like broken promises. Your journey has begun. You push onward as the sun slashes through the sky like a scorching blade, each ray drilling into your shoulders and brow. The heat presses against you, an invisible weight that threatens to buckle your bones. Every step you take feels like an act of defiance against the desert's brutal will. You trudge through loose sand, each footfall sinking deep and forcing you to haul yourself free again, an exhausting cycle that tests the limits of your strength and resolve. Your shirt clings to your back, soaked with sweat that evaporates the moment it surfaces, leaving salt streaks that sting raw. You pause to wipe a bead from your eye and curse the sun for its merciless glare. The world is nothing but blinding light and shimmering heat. Every grain of sand seems to spark as if lit from within. You remember that first gulp of blood-warm water, a fleeting comfort, and you wonder how many more sips you can afford. You shade your eyes and scan the horizon for any sign of relief, perhaps a rocky outcrop or a cluster of scrub, but there is nothing but dunes rolling into dunes. The sky overhead is a glaring white dome that offers no shelter, no promise of clouds. You raise your arm to shield your face and feel the skin burn instantly where the cloth doesn't cover. You wonder if that crocodile dung sunscreen you applied in a moment of lunacy will hold up under this furnace. It tingles where it contacts sweat, reminding you that you did something right, however strange it may be. You steady your pack on your shoulders, feeling its straps carve into your flesh. Inside your compass spins aimlessly, while the canteen's liquid grows ever more precious. You take long, deliberate strides, forcing your legs to carry you forward, even when every muscle screams to stop. Heat waves curl off the sand, blurring distant dunes, into ghostly silhouettes that taunt you with unreachable shapes. You fight the urge to sprint toward those phantoms, to chase hope itself, because you know better. Frenzy only wastes energy and water. Instead, you adopt a measured pace, one foot in front of the other, hips rolling as you walk. Your mind drifts to the promise you made before sunrise, to endure every trial, to push beyond what you thought possible. You tap into reserves of grit you never knew existed. For a moment, you recall childhood games of endurance, holding your breath underwater until your head buzzed, and marvel at how trivial those contests now seem. Your throat cracks, and you break into a dry cough that rattles your chest. You pause and bend forward, hands on knees, letting the wind catch your face. The breeze is little better than a furnace gust, but you gratefully drink it in. You glance down at your boots crusted with salt and sand and flex your toes inside as best you can. Your feet are blistered, the arches burning with every impact. You wonder if you'll ever feel comfortable again. The sun climbs higher and the air grows more suffocating. Heat radiates off the sand in rippling pulses. You imagine the desert as a living entity, breathing fire, watching you struggle. The spine of the nearest dune offers only the slightest slope, a ramp of powdery yellow that might take you to a marginally cooler height. You set your gaze on that crest and prepare for a climb. Each step upward is an ordeal. The sand gives way beneath you, forcing you to kick higher and pull yourself forward. Your gloves slide against the coarse grains as you grip handfuls of sand for balance. You think about the sandstorm you'll face later and how filthy each scoop will become. Still, this minor ascent feels like salvation, as if reaching the top will grant you a single breath of relief. After what feels like an eternity, you haul yourself over the ridge and tumble forward onto the leeward slope. You lie there, chest pressed into cool sand that belies the heat in the sunlit world behind you. You close your eyes and savor the instant when the wind shifts and brings a whisper of cold night air, reminding you of how quickly comfort can vanish. You let your lungs refill and count your blessings in ragged breaths. You rise and glance back at the path you climbed, a scar across the dune, marked by your footprints and the slide of loose grains. You realize that each step forward, however small, is proof that you are still alive, still fighting. You square your shoulders and scan the horizon again. Far off, you glimpse a dark ripple that might be rock or shadow, the first real variation you've seen. Your heart leaps, and you quicken your pace toward it, mindful not to expend too much energy too soon. Your mouth is a parched desert of its own lips, contorting in a silent scream. You open your pack and fish out the last of your leftover ration bars. They crumble at the slightest pressure, a chalky reminder that nourishment offers only fleeting relief. You shove one piece into your mouth, chew mechanically, and set the pack aside. The taste is bland, but the act of eating reminds your body that you're in this for the long haul. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand and tuck the wrapper away. It feels like carrying spare weight, but trash has a way of accumulating, and you can't afford to leave behind anything that might catch the eye of a searching rescuer if one ever comes. You shake out the pack, flattening it to eliminate loose sand, and then hoist it back onto your shoulders. The sun sits high above you now, beating down with relentless insistence. You shade your eyes with one hand and press on each step, a testament to your unspoken promise to survive. The glare is unbearable, but you force yourself to stare ahead, focused on that distant dark ripple. You tell yourself that relief could wait just a little longer, that your blistered feet, stinging shoulders, and burning skin are all part of this crucible. As you trek, you feel the desert testing you, poking at your willpower, seeking the moment you'll break. But you press back, muscles taut, jaw set, spirit stubborn. Because right now, every footfall is a victory. Every grain of sand underfoot, a reminder that you refuse to surrender. You stare into the wavering horizon and see it again, a glimmer of cobalt blue, nestled between two dunes, shimmering like a promise. Your heart surges, adrenaline, dulling the weight of heat and thirst. You break into a faster stride, boots kicking up dusty plumes as you charge toward the vision. Each step feels lighter, fueled by hope and delirium. The closer you get, the more real it seems, a pool of water, reflecting the sun, edged by slender palms that beckon relief. But as you crest the dune, the promise dissolves. The pool flattens into a ripple of scorching sand that sparkles under the sun's glare, and the palms vanish into a mirage of heat. Your chest tightens, and disappointment crashes over you like a wave. You skid to a halt, eyes watering from sweat, sand, and frustration. You taste bitterness, not just from dehydration, but from hope cruelly snatched away. You stagger back down the slope, feet heavy and knees weak, feeling as though the desert is toying with you. That cobalt shimmer was nothing more than light, bending across hot grains, a cruel trick of physics, amplified by your desperation. You lean against the dune's windward side, bracing yourself as you draw in jagged breaths. The air is hot and dry, slicing into your lungs. Doubt seeps in a whisper at first, then a roar. Maybe you can't do this. Maybe you're too tired, too thirsty. You press a hand to your mouth, tasting grit and regret. You think of that crocodile dung sunscreen, once a bizarre afterthought that now feels like the only rational decision you made before landing here. If only rational decisions could shield you from hallucinations. You rock on your feet, torn between the urge to collapse and the need to move. Your vision blurs, sweat stings your eyes. You look toward the vanishing spot again, willing it to reappear. But the dunes there remain barren, static in their indifference. You swallow hard and force yourself to stand tall. You're chasing ghosts, but the alternative, giving up, is worse. You inhale trembling air and exhale determination. Not today, you whisper to the sand. You force a steady pace, slower this time, conserving energy. Each time you reach the crest of a dune, you hold back from rushing down, wary of mirages that lurk just beyond. You keep gaze low, scanning for any hard edges, rock outcrops, shadows, anything that might be real. Your eyes dart from dune to horizon, looking for patterns in the chaos of light and heat. As you walk, you replay old desert survival tips. Avoid direct line of sight climbing when your mind is fatigued. Focus on high contrast details. Keep moving even if progress feels non-existent. You trace the edge of your compass card, but its needle spins wildly, rendered useless by the swelter. So you rely on memory's sunrise, behind you midday high above, and a general bearing toward where you first woke up. When you catch another flicker of blue, you hesitate. The desert carpet shifts beneath your boots, and you feel the urge to sprint to chase that oasis illusion. But instead, you press a fist to your chest, feeling the pulse that stills your racing thoughts. You remind yourself every sprint wastes energy and water. You grit your teeth and pull your eyes away, forcing your gaze lower. Still doubt coils in your chest. You replay every choice that led. Here were you reckless. Should you have waited out the storm? Should you have brought more water? You dare not dwell on regrets. Reflection is a luxury you can't afford. Yet your brain latches onto each what-if unraveling confidence. You chew on your lower lip and push the doubts away like prickly sand behind your back. To distract yourself, you recite a mantra under your breath. Step by step, drop by drop. Each phrase matches a footfall and a heartbeat. You keep a steady rhythm, one foot in front of the other, one drop of water down your throat when you can spare it. You begin to notice subtle variations in the sand, finer grains that clump near a hidden stream of moisture perhaps. You skirt a shallow depression where the sand appears darker, as if holding more residual dampness. Following that hint, you crouch and sweep away a small patch of grains. Underneath the sand is slightly cool to the touch. You press a finger deeper and feel a dampness that hints at life below. Excitement flares inside you, not a mirage this time, but a possible sign of an underground spring or dew collection. You gather handfuls of sand to form a shallow trench, watching as moisture beads along its sides. Your breathing quickens, but you resist the urge to gulp water. Instead, you cup your hands and let tiny droplets collect, shimmering like rare jewels. You bring the wet palms to your mouth and sip deliberately, savoring real liquid that slides down your throat. It's barely enough to quench half your thirst, but it tastes of victory, a tangible triumph over doubt and illusion. Reinvigorated, your spirit surges. You rub your palms together to squeeze out every drop, tasting earth and hope mingled in that cool moisture. Your heart pounds, not just from exertion, but from elation. For a moment, you forget the heat, the sun, the mirages that plagued your mind. You taste grit between your teeth, but you smile anyway because proof of real water is worth any discomfort. You refill your canteen with experimental sips, careful not to disturb the fragile pool. You cap it, securing that precious triumph. You stand scanning the horizon with renewed clarity. The mirages will come and go, but now you know the desert has secrets you can coax into reality if you stay alert. Doubt still lingers a shadow at the edge of your thoughts, but you swallow it along with that dew. You adjust the straps of your pack, feeling lighter despite the weight of water. You pick a direction, no longer chasing false promises, but moving toward distant rock formations that now seem within reach. Each step crunches through sand that's a little less hostile now, a little more promising. You remind yourself that hope is both a weapon and a weakness. The trick is to balance belief with caution. As you trudge toward that rocky ripple, heat waves dance in your vision, but you steel yourself against their seduction. You hold your gaze at a quarter of the horizon, letting your peripheral vision handle the rest. The world warps around you, but you remain centered, anchored by the knowledge that real hope comes from persistence, not illusion. Your feet sink deeper into the sand, and you welcome the resistance. You imagine each sinking step draining doubts away, grounding you in reality. The droplets of dew you carry are proof that the desert can be tamed if only you're patient. You glance down at the canteen, then back up at the horizon and press on undaunted, resolute, and ready for whatever comes next. Your canteen's surface warms against your side as you secure the cap, the sweet weight of liquid sloshing inside a reminder of both relief and looming scarcity. You unzip the small pouch on your pack's chest strap and extract the slender straw designed to sip carefully, a tool you'd almost forgotten in the frenzy of survival. You slide it and position it at your lips and take a single deliberate draw. The water slips past burning flesh, soothing your throat even as it electrifies your nerves with the promise of life. You pull the straw oak and tuck it back in its slot, eyes locking onto the horizon. The sun sits near its zenith, a glaring eye that brooks no escape. Your skin prickles under its gaze, and you taste salt on your tongue from sweat and cracked lips. You twist the canteen's cap half a turn and feel the air hiss out, equalizing pressure before you close it firmly. Each breath you take is a negotiation with heat. Inhale to cool nothing, exhale into a furnace. Your throat tightens again, and you rub the back of your hand across your lips, spreading thin ribbons of skin that lift like parchment. You resist the urge to lick them, knowing that moisture will evaporate before it perks any hint of relief. Instead, you tap a fingertip against your lower lip, feeling the roughness like a broken record of every mile marched. You touch each cracked ridge as if charting scars on a survivor's map. Rationing water becomes a ritual. You inspect the tiny calibrated window on your canteen, gauging how many fractions remain. 5 sips to go, no more. You repeat that number in your mind until it becomes a mantra. 5 sips, 5 steps. You measure each footfall, each heartbeat against that sacred count. You imagine the slow drip of an hourglass grains falling with perfect precision. That image steadies you more than any compass ever could. Your mouth is an arid chamber, and even the faintest breeze tastes like sand. You wrap a corner of your shirt around your mouth and nose to filter each inhalation. The cloth is damp with sweat, but at least it catches the worst of flying grit. You breathe through it, counting in and out, letting the soft rustle of fabric against your lips become the only comfort you know. The sun's rays intensify, and you feel the fabric of your shirt begin to bake. The damp patches clinging to your torso crisp into salt crusts that flake as you move. You lift your shirt's hem slightly, peering at the burn pattern on your belly, a mottled map of survivorship. You pinch at one of the reddened diamonds of skin and grit your teeth at the sting. Better than blisters, you remind yourself. You glance at the canteen again. 4 sips now. You press your lips together and tilt your head back, igniting a small plume of gritty vapor. That barbecue of your breath fills your nostrils, and you cough once, a rasping sound that echoes in the emptiness. You steady your stance legs, braced, shoulders squared. You are the arbiter of your own dehydration. Heat reflections on the sands dance like hallucinations, rippling pools of water, wandering figures. Each time your vision warps, your heart stutters. You blink hard, blinking away phantoms that threaten to lure you off course. But no oasis will save you now, only discipline and careful stewardship of what remains. You remember the manic gratitude you felt at that damp trench, and you vow to honor the gift by using it wisely. A sudden gust of wind kicks up, sending swirling curtains of fine dust that sting your eyes. You steer into it, wrapping your scarf tighter and hunkering down for several heartbeats until the worst passes. When the air stills, you emerge from your crouch, blinking away dryness. Your lungs ache, but you inhale deeply, savoring that first full breath spent under your own power. You press onward, mind hyper-aware of every small sensation, the scrape of your boots against dune, faces the slight tingle as sweat dries on your cheek, the muted thump as your heart sinks with your stride. You focus on the rhythm, left foot, right foot sip, when you can pause, when you must. You allow no space for panic. In this desert, panic is the enemy of conservation. As the sun arcs ever higher, you find a patch of sand that feels cooler under your palm. You drop to one knee and slide a hand beneath the surface, seeking hidden moisture like a prospector chasing gold. Instead, you find only dryness grains, as warm as ash. You pull your hand back, wrist slick with sweat, and tell yourself that searching for water in midday is folly, better to press on and rely on what you have. You rise and continue, but your pace slows under the weight of dehydration. Your vision narrows tunnel-like until the world is little more than a bent beam of light and heat. You sense your heartbeat in your temples, and your throat tightens to the point that even a swallow feels like swallowing glass. You force yourself to draw in a swallow of cool air, feeling it slide down the back of your throat like a promise. 3 sips remain. You catalog the seasons as if you were planting them in a journal. Morning heat, midday burn, afternoon collapse. You clutch your canteen like a lifeline, pressing it to your chest when doubt gnaws at your confidence. You whisper to yourself, "You've come this far." The words feel distant, but carry weight. You grit your teeth and lean forward for another step, your lips cracked and coarse, part to release a breathless laugh at your own stubbornness. You almost applaud yourself, a survivor's chuckle. Then you taste blood-tiny rivulets from split skin, and you catch your breath. Even laughter demands water. You wipe your mouth and feel the grit embedded in your teeth. You grit them in return, determined not to let the desert claim a piece of you. You glance once more at the faint dark shapes of distant rock. They are far, but they are real. You measure the distance in breaths rather than paces, a more honest metric when the ground beneath is treacherous. You raise one hand, palm outstretched, and shade your eyes. You focus on the contours of those rocks' sharp edges that promise shade and perhaps more water. Your stomach churns, but you resist the urge to eat the last ration bar. You tuck it back into your pocket, saving every crumb for a moment of genuine need. Calories matter little against the tyranny of thirst. You need water more than food now. You swallow, gulping in as deep a breath as your chest allows. 2 sips remain. You tuck the straw back into your pocket, sliding it into the shadows of your pack. You wrench the canteen free, unscrew the cap, and let the first drop hang from the opening. You lean forward, catch that single drop on your tongue, and let it melt across the back of your throat. It's barely enough, but it floods your senses with clarity. You wipe the canteen rim on your shirt, seal it again, and stand. The desert stretches endlessly, indifferent to your suffering. Yet you bend your spine into its challenge, refusing to crack. Foot by foot, sip by sip, you will cross this wasteland. You feel the sun's last fury recede as it dips toward the horizon, and the air begins its subtle shift from a blazing furnace to a simmering oven. You know that soon darkness will arrive, and with it a cold so sharp it cuts deeper than the day's heat. You scan the sands for a promising spot, perhaps a slight depression at the base of a dune where you can eke out a measure of shelter. Your bones ache at the thought of digging in the loose, powdery sand, but the promise of night's cooling veil drives you to action. You drop to your knees and begin scooping handfuls of sand, casting them aside with trembling arms. Each scoop feels like wading through molasses. The grains cling to your gloves, slide through your fingers, and require greater force to uproot than you'd expect. Sweat still beads on your neck, but you welcome the dampness. It reminds you you're alive, that moisture still courses through you, however thinly. Your water is too precious for more than a few sips, but the sweat that soaks your shirt is free. With laborious patience, you carve out a shallow trench, roughly the length of your torso, and wide enough to hunker down inside. You press your palms against the hard-packed base, flattening it as best you can. When the trench is deep enough to shield you from the worst wind, you use the loose sand to build a low berm along the windward edge. The makeshift wall rises to head height when you're seated, promising a break from the breeze that heralds the night chill. You step back and examine your handiwork. It's crude, a simple notch in the dune, but it should serve to trap the day's residual warmth and block direct gusts. You burrow inside and sit with your back against the far wall, knees drawn to your chest. Your legs tremble from exhaustion, and you flex your ankles to coax circulation back into your feet. You realize that even the act of sitting upright feels luxurious compared to the relentless march of daylight. Above you, the sky fades from brilliant white to a tapestry of molten gold and fiery red. Each color bleeds into the next as the sun's disk sinks behind distant dunes. You press your forehead against your knees and draw in a slow breath, tasting coolness for the first time in hours. The air that brushes your face is still warm, but not searing. It carries promise. You close your eyes and listen to the desert's new sounds, the distant whisper of wind against bare ridges, the faint hiss of sand shifting far overhead, and the rare snap of a small rock dropping somewhere beyond your berm. Each noise feels amplified in the hush that follows the sun's retreat. You lean back and rest your head on the sandy wall, delighted by the gentle give of compacted grains. As dusk settles, the temperature slides downward rapidly. A tingle travels up your spine and into your bones and you rub your arms, wrapping them around your torso. Goosebumps rise on your forearms, where the sunburned skin is most raw. You tug the corners of your shirt over your shoulders, hugging damp fabric, close in a futile attempt to retain warmth. You wonder if that crocodile dung sunscreen might offer a sliver of insulation as it hardens into a crust on your skin. It's absurd, but at this point you'll embrace in any comfort, however strange. The horizon now glows with a pale sliver of light, and the first stars blink hesitantly in the deepening blue above. You shift to kneel and peer over the berm's top, scanning where silhouettes, dunes smoothed into gentle waves, the faint outline of distant rocks, and the promise of shelter if you can reach those ridges tomorrow. For tonight, this trench is your refuge. You retrieve your emergency blanket from your pack, a thin sheet of reflective plastic that feels crinkly and insubstantial. You unfold it and wrap it around your shoulders like a tattered cloak. It clings to your body, shimmering under the fading light, and you press it tight, marveling at its uncanny ability to hold in some of your body heat. You tuck the edges around your knees and face, feeling transformed from a lone wanderer into a cocooned creature. Your throat tingles with dryness, and you remember the 5 sips still awaiting you in the canteen. You unscrew the cap, bring the straw to your lips, and sip deliberately 1-2. The liquid is cool from the sand's residual chill, and it soothes your scorched throat. You pause and let the cool trickle sink in, feeling it spread warmth into your chest. 3 more sips. You remind yourself to ration carefully until dawn. Night grows bolder, and the sky deepens to indigo. A crescent moon rises faint, yet reassuring. You watch as it climbs, tracing a pale arc across the heavens. You take a final sip, 4 down 1, to go and cup your bare hands, catching the echo of that last drop as you breathe it in. You feel more human now, steadied by hydration, however slight. The temperature plunges further. You hug your knees to redistribute warmth through your core and legs. Your teeth chatter a faint rattle that surprises you. You dig a shallow cavity beneath your knees to lie down, pressing your back against the sand wall. You curl into a fetal position, the emergency blanket crinkling around you like a fragile whisper. Your mind drifts and fatigue tugs at your eyelids. You replay moments of the day, the cruel mirages, the victory of that damp trench, the sun's relentless assault. You whisper out loud, "I survived the sun, now I survive the cold." The words feel strange on your tongue, but soothe a battered spirit. You feel the phantom sting of wind-blown sand as a breeze brushes past. You pull the blanket tighter and press your cheek against the cool grains. The sand holds the day's warmth, a gift that seeps back into you. You sink deeper into your trench, letting your body absorb what little heat remains. Above you, stars shine with crystalline clarity, the Milky Way like a band of spilled sugar across the vault of night. You stretch out a hand and trace constellations you learned as a child, Orion's belt, the Pleiades, and feel a pang of longing for simpler times. Yet even nostalgia feels luxurious here. You close your eyes, letting starlight seep into your mind. Your breath evens and shivers subside into gentle tremors. The desert's cold is sharp, but it also lulls, softens the edges of the day's trauma. You whisper goodnight to the dunes, to the berm that saved you, to the lone crescent moon. You promise yourself rest, knowing the next dawn will demand everything you have. Gradually, your breath slows and darkness envelops you. The chill no longer bites so sharply. Instead, it wraps around you like a solemn lullaby. You surrender to sleep's pull, trusting that when you awaken, you'll still be here, breathing, still fighting, still yours, to write the next chapter. You wake to a low, rumbling roar that rattles your trench like a freight train. You sit up, pressing palms into the sand wall as the first grains begin to swirl overhead. The wind arrives in a surge, hurling dust and grit so thick you can barely see your outstretched hand. Panic claws at your chest, but you clamp down on it. This is another trial, another obstacle to overcome. You tuck deeper into the trench, pulling the emergency blanket over your head like a phantom's shroud. Each gust feels like a physical blow, and you grit your teeth as sand pummels the fabric, turning it opaque. You press your face against the cool plastic side of the blanket and draw in shallow breaths through your scarf, tasting nothing but fine particles of desert fury. The roar crescendos, and you realize this storm won't last mere seconds. It will drag on until every ounce of your patience is exhausted. Your ears ring with the wind's howl, and you feel each breath scrape your lungs. You pinch your nose beneath the fabric filter, sealing it as best you can against the invasion of sand. A stinging ache blossoms in your eyes, and even your goggles feel inadequate. You squeeze them tighter, hoping the seal holds, but you know grit will find a way. You remember a tip about building windbreaks angle your shelter to the wind's direction. But this trench is too narrow, the berm too low. There's no time to rebuild. Instead, you clamp your body around the patch of relative calm at the trench's center. You fold your arms, cross your legs, and hunker down. The wind-driven sand scours your blanket, and you feel the coarse granules sift through layers, bending the plastic inward until it feels like a suffocating cocoon. Time warps as seconds stretch into minutes. You lose count of how long you crouch, feeling grains invade every crevice, behind your ears, in your collar, drifting into your gloves. You press your palms against your ears, trying to mute the howl. The storm's heart is a cacophony of wind and stone, a relentless drumbeat that drowns out your thoughts. Yet within that chaos, you find focus. Survival demands that you endure. Your throat scratches. It's been hours since you last sipped water, but the storm's fury holds no mercy for thirst. You taste sand with every breath, a coarse bitterness that underscores how far you've come. You resist coughing, knowing that every spasm risks inhaling a fresh load of grit. Instead, you tilt your head back and close your mouth, letting the stale, sand-laden air pass through your nostrils only. A sudden lurch shifts the trench's sand wall inward, and you brace your shoulder against the shifting mass. The wall creaks and groans as tons of grains bulldoze into it, and you pray it won't collapse entirely. With a muted crack, part of the berm gives way, spilling a cascade of sand across your lap. You curse under your breath, rubber against rock, but you can't rebuild with hands that feel raw and numb. You wrench yourself deeper, curling tighter as the trench narrows. You press the blanket closer, trying to capture scraps of calm beneath its confines. The storm's howl grows, and you realize you've slipped into a trance of white noise, a trance where only the wind and sand exist. All else pain, thirst, exhaustion fades into background static. Then, as suddenly as it began, the wind's fury stutters. The roar dwindles to a hissing sigh. You stay motionless, uncertain if the storm has passed or merely shifted its focus. The blanket flutters above you like a dying flag. You exhale slowly, tasting reclaimed air. You push aside the plastic and peek over the berm. The world is transformed. Gusts still ripple across dunes, but the worst has passed. Sand drifts eddy in swirling rings, catching the weak light of a sun half hidden behind dust clouds. The horizon is hazy, blurred into an abstract painting of beige and gold. You swing your legs over the trench's edge and drop onto the flattened sand floor. You brush loose grains from your shirt, then inspect the berm. It stands battered but intact. You consider rebuilding it higher, but your arms shake so violently that you fear bringing the whole thing down. Instead, you cup a handful of sand and let it sift through your fingers, marveling at how the particles can be both your enemy and your refuge. You gaze at the sky now, a swirling canvas of sand-laden clouds. The sun is an indistinct glow behind a veil of dust, yet it still radiates enough heat to bake the surface beneath you. You flatten your back against the trench floor, letting the chill of buried sand absorb the storm's afterheat. Your body trembles from the adrenaline crash, and you let the tremors ebb naturally. You reach into your pack for the canteen and flip the cap free. The ritual is automatic: twist, lift, straw, and sip. You reluctantly taste gritty water, but the cool liquid reminds you of harder-won victories. You swallow deeply and feel life coursing back through your veins. 2 sips remain. You cap it carefully and press it against your chest. You assess your situation. The storm has shifted the landscape. New dune edges form where none existed. Wind-carved patterns hide or reveal depressions that might hold moisture. You slide to the trench entrance and peer out, searching for familiar landmarks. The rock ripple you pursued earlier is obscured now, perhaps carved deeper or filled in by the storm's migrations. You recall the stability of fixed rock, tomorrow's goal, and steel yourself. For now, you must wait for clarity. You lie back and let the damp, cool sand cling to your skin under the blanket. Isolation returns, but tempered by calm. You close your eyes and listen to the storm's dying whispers, the slow hiss of grains settling. Each breath now tastes clean, by comparison, a reminder that even the harshest challenge will pass. You feel the desert's heartbeat in the slow cascade of sand. You reflect storms are trials of patience as much as darkness is. Surviving them requires waiting, not fighting. You open your eyes to the hushed aftermath, the golden particles drifting like gentle snow. You press a hand into the sand, feeling fine grains slope beneath your palm. You draw your fingers across it, sketching a simple line, a testament that you were here, endured, and remained intact. You exhale a soft sigh, letting relief ripple through your body. The windstorm was an adversary that sought to bury you, but you endured. You curl into your trench blanket, wrapped close, and let the storm's end lull you. You rise with a voice in your head that reminds you, keep moving. Your muscles protest with every motion, legs heavy like iron chains, arms leaden with fatigue. You step onto the shifting sands, and with each footfall, your boots sink, forcing you to yank them free before the next step. Every stride feels like a betrayal. The ground gives way, and you must haul yourself forward anew. Your breath is ragged, each inhale a gasp, as if you're trying to draw water from the desert itself. You press your palm against your thigh and push off, telescoping your hip forward in an awkward gait that conserves energy but underlines how worn you are. The dunes have become a blur of rises and falls, and you can no longer recall how many you've crossed or how many remain. Only one thought sustains you: put one foot in front of the other. You recall your mantra step by step, drop by drop. You whisper it to yourself, matching each word to a labored footfall. Step your left foot wedges into loose grains. By your right foot scrapes as you shuffle. Step. You pause to clear sand from your goggles. Drop you, press a fingertip to your canteen, testing stillness. By you swallow, tasting dust. Drop you, breathe, tasting hope. Your vision narrows. You combat the tunnel effect by blinking deliberately, scanning peripherally for any sign of those distant rocks. You note the topography, a shallow saddle, 2 dunes ahead, where wind has carved a subtle pathway. That path may grant a marginally firmer footing, so you angle your trajectory toward it, each step now guided by thought rather than panic. Your boots scrape against harder packed sand where the wind has swept loose grains away, and you find a brief reprieve. The resistance feels almost normal. You lean into these firmer patches, shifting weight to conserve energy. Still, these moments are fleeting. The dunes reclaim their loose crowns within paces. You grit your teeth as grains spill beneath your sole, sending microquakes up your leg. You sense the afternoon sun inching westward, its angle lowering, but its heat barely diminished. Despite the fatigue, you tighten your scarf around your face, damp straps pressed to your forehead. You remind yourself to stay covered. Every patch of exposed skin is an invitation to burn. You duck your chin, forcing your gaze downward, and move with purpose. Aimless wandering is a death sentence here. Your arms swing wide to balance your staggered gait. You imagine them as the rudders of a ship navigating an ocean of sand. Each movement requires conscious effort. You tuck elbows in during uphill climbs, extend arms like stabilizers on descents. The desert tests coordination as much as endurance, and you adapt in real time, each adjustment keeping you upright. Your pack jostles, and you pause to slide a sweaty shoulder strap back into place. The strap's buckle bites into your skin, but you ignore the pain. There are worse things than chafed shoulders. You tighten the Velcro on your left glove, noticing that a nib of sand has worked its way beneath the material. You flick your wrist, and the grain skitters across the sand like a sprinter launching forward. Stumbling becomes inevitable. Your foot catches on a hidden lip of sand, and you pitch forward. Instinctively, you roll onto your side, then spring up, heart hammering. Your shirt is dusted with sand, and a bruise is blooming on your knee. You bite back a groan and pat the fabric, checking for tears. The desert offers no mercy for injuries. Every abrasion is an infection waiting to happen. You trace the fresh scrape with a fingertip, tasting metallic grit and resolve. You rise again and press onward. The horizon wavers, but you focus on a single, fixed point, a distant ridge that might be shade by sundown. The thought of shade is an oasis in your mind, one that staves off panic. You march toward that target as if your life depends on it, because it does. Your mouth is bone dry. You resist the temptation to check the canteen. Every glance only reminds you of dwindling reserves. You clutch the strap across your chest and breathe through your nose, filtering grit through the scarf. Each breath numbs your throat less than sandstorms, but more than heat ever could. You quiet the whine in your mind. Dry mouth, dry throat, but you're alive. You transition into a shuffle, your hips rocking like a pendulum. This gait spares your calves, but taxes your back and core. The trade-off is worth it. Your feet suffer less until you can find firmer ground. You allow your arms to hang swinging gently in time with your torso. You feel like a marionette, guided by invisible strings. In this state, thought and action merge, no room for extraneous worries. Your eyelids flutter and you resist sleep. Closing your eyes for even a second in the desert can mean waking in a different place, disoriented and vulnerable. You suck in a breath, counting it as one of your final drops, and force your gaze open. You force each eyelash apart, banishing the phantom specks dancing in your vision. Your legs shake as you cross the shallow saddle. You pause at its crest, hands on knees, head bowed. You survey the area, a gentle slope spiraling down into a small basin where wind patterns have scoured loose sand. The depression looks cooler, maybe a few degrees less stifling. You straighten, rise to full height, and begin the descent. Each step downwards feels like a small victory. Your weight has gravity on its side, reducing effort. You lean back slightly, controlling your speed, and allow the slope to carry you. Yet you cannot afford to slide recklessly. A twisted ankle now would be catastrophic. You land with a cautious roll hip, absorbing the impact, and your feet find purchase on packed sand. You stand in the hollow and feel relief wash over you. The air here holds a whisper of coolness, as if the dunes' contours have trapped residual night chill. You swivel on your heels, nearly dizzy from the sudden change in gradient, and take 3 measured breaths. You taste real air, no grit, no searing heat, just a hint of respite. You lower your pack and settle against the basal sand wall. The grains here feel softer, denser, and you let your back sink into them. You flex your ankles and extend your legs, enjoying the momentary relief that comes from stillness. You close your eyes and allow yourself 10 seconds of reprieve. Your mind drifts to childhood adventures, running barefoot on dewy grass at dawn before the sun turned it to damp soot. Those memories are luxuries now, but they ground you. You let nostalgia ease the edge of pain before tucking it away like a precious talisman. You press a hand to your heart, feeling each beat like a bell tolling your existence. You whisper, "I'm still here," and your voice sounds both foreign and triumphant. You tilt your head back and face the sun, letting its filtered rays warm your face. You tilt your lips in a semblance of a smile. After a moment, you lift your pack and strap it once more. You test your legs with a tentative step, then another until the shakiness subsides. You resume your march, adapted shuffle, steady breath, eyes fixed on that ridge in the distance. Every step from here on is proof that despite exhaustion, you persist. The twilight glow touches the dunes ahead, painting them a softer gold. You feel renewed purpose, even as every muscle screams. You remind yourself that exhaustion is a state of mind, break it, and your body will follow. You plant your feet firmly and walk onward, each fading footstep, a testament to your resolve. You pause mid-stride, as if the desert itself has held its breath. Around you, the dunes sit silent and motionless, their rippled surfaces frozen like statues in an ancient hall of sand. The wind has stilled, and with it every sense of movement. No hissing gusts, no drifting particles, just an oppressive quiet that presses against your eardrums. You press a hand to your heart, feeling its thud reverberate in the hollow calm. That stillness unnerves you more than any storm. You recall how the sandstorm's roar was a tangible enemy you could fight within your trench. Now, when nothing moves, you sense danger lurking beneath the surface. Each dune conceals unknown challenges, soft sinkholes scouring currents, unseen crests that drop away into hidden valleys. You take a slow breath and remind yourself that silence does not guarantee safety. You scan the horizon warily. The sun, low but still blazing, casts long shadows across the dunes, painting their crests in sharp relief. Each ridge lines up like rows of awaiting soldiers, rigid and exact. Your footsteps would trace a clear path here, but in this hush you dare not break the surface. Each step will echo in your mind long after the sound vanishes. You tug at your scarf, adjusting its wrap to cover more of your face and nose. The fabric filters dust and shields you from unexpected gusts that might spring to life without warning. You bring your hand to your mouth and speak in a low whisper. All is calm, but calm can mask ruin. The words feel heavy, like an incantation to ward off illusions. You move forward, each footfall deliberate and careful. The sand underfoot is firm, wind-polished, and compact, offering almost too much resistance. You wonder if this section once served as a dry lake bed, baked flat by centuries of sun. You flex your foot, testing its grip, then continue feeling your boots click against the hardened surface. The rigid ground helps your pace, but you miss the give of loose sand that once demanded every ounce of energy. Your mind spins with questions. How long will this peace last? When will the next trial arrive? You recall that mirage of blue water and the storm's sudden fury, and you shiver despite the heat. You sense the desert watching you, waiting for complacency to settle in your bones. You refuse to let it. You press onward toward a distant jagged ridge that seems sharper in this eerie light. It cuts through the horizon like a broken spine, promising both shade and possible refuge. You focus on that shape, forcing all your attention onto its ragged outline. Your breathing slows as you synchronize with your footfalls, each movement measured, every muscle coiled in readiness. As you near the ridge, the silence deepens. Your own breathing seems unnaturally loud. You catch the rasp of air through your scarf, the creak of your gear straps, even the faint hiss of the sun baking the sand. You didn't realize how loud normal sounds could be when all else is mute. You stop and cup your hand behind your ear, listening for anything beyond your own body's protest. Nothing answers. You force yourself to move again, stepping across a narrow saddle between two dunes. The ground dips beneath you, and you balance on the ridge toes, gripping the edge. The drop on either side is subtle, but unnerving. One misstep here could send you tumbling into a shadowed trough. You shift your weight with care, hips swaying like a tightrope walker's. For an instant, you close your eyes. You feel the sun's warmth on your face, the slight breeze just enough to remind you it hasn't abandoned you entirely. You taste the grit on your tongue and remember how that trench dew felt like salvation. You remind yourself that life persists between trials. Opening your eyes, you spot something odd, a faint line etched into the crest ahead, a thin ridge of darker sand that glitters under the sun. It could be a mineral vein or perhaps the trail of debris from yesterday's storm. You approach cautiously, lowering your center of gravity to inspect it. You press a fingertip against the ridge, and the grains shift under your touch, revealing a narrow channel. You peer into its shadowed depth and see no sign of moisture, only more sand, darker and almost damp looking. You hesitate. The trench you dug may have dried out in the storm. This channel could be a fresh collection point, or it might be merely a relic of wind patterns. You weigh the risk. Searching for moisture might waste precious energy. Still, the lure of water, even a trace, pulls at your desperation. You gather a handful of sand to sweep away the top layer and expose the channel's base. Beneath, the sand feels cool and slightly sticky against your glove. Your pulse quickens. You slide your hand deeper, grooving through the sand until you feel a damp patch. Your breath catches, and you almost gasp. Real moisture, signs of life beneath the desert's deathly calm. You cup your palm and draw up a thin film of water that beads along your glove. You bring it to your lips and taste the faint saltiness, an echo of your earlier victory, but no less savored. You pause in the silent expanse, letting that small success settle into your bones before the next challenge arrives. You know the desert will not remain passive. This calm hoodwinks you into false security. But for now, you sit back on your heels and let the hush envelop you, drinking in the moment of deception and triumph alike. You refill your canteen with careful sips, ensuring not a drop is lost. You seal it, secure the straw, and stand again. The jagged ridge looms closer, and you set your sights on its sun-bleached rock, promising shade and perhaps a vantage point over the lifeless sea of sand. You begin to climb boots, crunching against coarse gravel mixed with sand. Each handhold and foothold is a lifeline, a promise of solid ground. You ascend steadily, heart thumping in your chest, as you leave the plain of deceptive calm below. You glance back only once, marveling at the expanse you've crossed, the violence you endured, and the hidden moisture you coaxed into reality. You press on toward the ridge's crest, aware that beyond this point, the desert's secrets will shift again. But you welcome the change. Silence is a trap, and you have escaped it. You crest the rocky ridge and pause to catch your breath, chest heaving as dust and grit course through your lungs. Below, the dunes roll into a vast valley, and there on the far horizon you glimpse slender silhouettes, a cluster of palms arching skyward, their fronds stirring in a gentle breeze. Your heart leaps. The oasis you chased in mirage has become something more tangible, a real promise of shade and water. Your boots clatter over pebbles as you descend the ridge's flank, eager to close the distance. The rocks here offer firmer footing than sand, each step carrying you faster toward hope. You feel grounded in ways the dunes never allowed. You pause at a ledge of sun-baked stone and massage your quads, recalling the empty flasks and ration bars that once felt like lifelines. Now the palms beckon like a lighthouse in the desert. Your vision narrows to a tunnel as you focus solely on that green flicker. The world beyond becomes a blur of heat waves, but the oasis stands sharp against the sky. You remind yourself to breathe evenly. Exertion wastes water as surely as thirst, and you lower your center of gravity, letting the slope guide you downward. Small rocks tumble beneath your weight, and you catch them with cautious steps, grateful for gravity's help. As you approach the basin, the air subtly shifts. It carries the faint scent of moisture, earthier and richer than the acrid dust you've inhaled for days. Your throat clenches with anticipation, and you swallow hard, tasting hope on your tongue. You shield your eyes with one hand and blink rapidly, scanning the pocket of green that pulses beneath the sun's harsh glare. You enter a dry wadi, a shallow channel carved by ancient floods, and follow its meandering course toward that distant grove. Each step feels like reclaiming a fraction of the life you left behind. You feel your shoulders straighten, chest lift, and for a moment the desert's weight lifts from your bones. You crack a crooked smile, remembering your own voice whispering, "I'm still here." The mantra now carries new resonance, no longer a promise to survive, but a vow to reach that sanctuary. You lean forward, hands on your thighs, and scan the terrain. The wadi's sandy floor is dotted with smoothed stones and patches of scrub brush, evidence that water once flowed here. The brush offers tiny specks of shade that you skirt around like small treasures, dipping under each for a breath-cooling pause. You recall hallucinations of water that taunted you. This scent, this brush, these stones, they are proof that life endures in this wasteland. You push onward, tracking the palms as silhouettes as they swell in size and clarity. Their trunks rise from a depression that must cradle a real pool. You quicken your pace, though you guard against sprinting. You've learned that frenzied motion only drains precious energy and water. Instead, you shift into a purposeful march, one foot anchored, the next driven by intent. Your pack feels lighter than it has in days, burdened no longer by uncertainty, but buoyed by expectation. You trace your fingers along its damp-streaked strap, recalling the crocodile dung sunscreen's odd sting that became your shield against the sun. You imagine those phallic grains beneath your shirt, now caked into a curious armor. A smile tugs at your lips. Survival demands absurd choices. The palm's green canopies grow larger with each step until you can make out individual fronds swaying lazily. Beneath them lies a ring of smooth stones that form a border around a shallow basin. You break into a cautious run, lungs burning, but spirits soaring. Sand sprays behind you, and your boots churn, yet you barely notice the effort. Every fiber of your being pulls toward that promise of life. You skitter to a halt at the basin's edge, toes buried in fine sand. You press your palms against the rim of stones and lean over to peer into the pool. Clear water glimmers, reflecting the sky and palms above. A ripple distorts the cloud's mirror image, and your heart hammers not from exertion, but sheer relief. Real water, real shade, real life. Without hesitation, you drop to your knees and plunge both hands into the cool liquid. The sensation steals your breath. Relief trickles through your skin, chills your fevered limbs, and soothes 1,000 aching muscles. You cup handfuls of water and raise them to your lips, letting the liquid flood your mouth, throat, and belly. You taste earth freshness and salvation swirling together. You lean forward and dunk your face, splashing water into your hair and over your burning skin. The cold steals away waves of fatigue and replaces them with clarity. You grin broadly as droplets slide down your cheeks, tears of joy you hadn't realized you were holding back. The water's surface shimmers against the sun's low arc, and you drink until your ribs ache. Finally sated, you lift your head and blink at the oasis around you. The palms rustle overhead, and the basin's edge is shaded in cool green shadows. You rise slowly, savoring the moment before you dare move again. You scoop more water into your canteen, filling it to the brim, each gulp a promise that you will not leave a single drop unequally distributed among your limbs. You steady yourself against a palm trunk, resting one hand on the rough bark. The texture is foreign, no scouring sand here, only resilient life clinging to moisture. You press your forehead to the trunk, inhaling the earthy scent of damp roots. You let your pack drop and sit against the ring of stones, gingerly stretching your legs. You dig your fingers into the soft sand beneath the palms, feeling its humidity. You notice a brittle branch broken off in the windstorm, lying half buried nearby. You retrieve it and use it to scratch away the loose sand covering the basin's floor. Beneath, the earth is damp and dark, an invitation to deeper watering holes. You press your palm into a shallow depression and feel cooler sand giving way to wet soil. You taste moisture on your glove, and your smile widens. You consider digging here. Perhaps this oasis extends deeper. But daylight wanes, and you must conserve energy for tomorrow's travel. You fill your canteen sip deliberately to stretch each swallow and tuck the branch into your pack as a primitive digger for later use. Natural tools matter in this world. You lift your head and scan the palms' trunks. Beneath their thatched canopy, the air is a different temperature, soft, cooler, almost silent, as the leaves whisper overhead. You step into the shade and let your skin rest against the obsidian, shadowed sand. The sun's rays feel distant, as if the palms shield you beneath a living roof. You remove your gloves and dip your fingers into the pool, washing grit from your skin. You rub water across your face, scrubbing away the desert's residue, and feel reborn. You take a deep breath, tasting oxygen that isn't tainted by airborne sand. It feels like the first truly clean breath you've drawn in days. You pull your pack free, unclip the old ration wrapper, and unwrap the remaining bar. You break off a piece and toss it onto a flat rock warmed by the day's sun. The heat melts the bar's exterior slightly, creating a sticky treat you hadn't dared hope for. You chew slowly, tasting sweetness you thought long gone. You tuck the rest of the bar back into your pack, then draw out a small bandana soaked in water from this pool. You drape it over your head and shoulders, its damp fabric clinging and cooling as the breeze shifts through the palms. You sigh in contentment, arms stretched overhead, soaking in the oasis's gentle embrace. You take one last look at the basin, and palms committing every detail to memory, the shape of each frond, the color of the stones, the taste of the water. You know you can't linger forever. Survival requires movement, and shelter is only a temporary reprieve. Yet in this moment, you let yourself breathe fully, recharge both body and spirit beneath living shade. As the sun lowers, shadows slip across the basin, and the palms' silhouettes feather against the sky. You rise, feeling fluid again, muscles loosened, vision clear. You drain the bandana, fold it carefully, and stow it in your pack. You refill your canteen one last time and secure it. Turning back toward the dunes you've yet to cross, you bend briefly to press your palm into the oasis soil, a silent thank you to the earth for this gift. You square your shoulders, hoist your pack, and step from the shade into the golden haze. The staircase of dunes awaits, but you know now the desert can give as well as take. With the oasis behind you and the dunes ahead, you trudge onward, heart steady, spine straight, and mind sharpened by the promise of survival. You break from the oasis's embrace and march into the glaring afternoon, each step a deliberate assertion that the desert will not break you. The shift from cool shade to the sun's furnace is jarring. Your skin bristles under the sudden assault of heat once more. You wrap your bandana over your mouth, sealing in the damp chill, and keep your gaze low to avoid the worst of the glare. Almost immediately, your mind darkens. The oasis's brief respite fades behind you like a dream, and your thoughts drift into shadowed corners. You recall home, a cozy living room where laughter echoed against familiar walls, an afternoon breeze through a cracked window, stirring patterned curtains. You taste the sweetness of that memory, then feel its sting, a reminder that this journey demands sacrifice. Doubt coils in your chest as you trudge up a dune's slope. What if you never return? What if this sun claims you, despite every effort? You pause, one hand on your thigh, and let the questions wash over you like cold water, unexpected and unwelcome. You press your free hand to your forehead, feeling sweat and grime mingle. You draw in a shaky breath and whisper, "You can't let them win." The desert plays tricks on memory. You stumble as the horizon shifts into the shape of a familiar face, someone you loved now beyond reach. The mirage dissolves in an instant, leaving only heat waves shimmering over sand. Your heart hammers at the phantom's absence. You grit your teeth and reel in your thoughts, refusing to let nostalgia paralyze you. The desert's heat is merciless, but longing can be worse. You haul yourself to your feet and resume your climb, each footfall punctuated by the crackle of sand beneath your boots. The slope is steep, but you leverage every muscle, digging your toes in and pulling with your arms for balance. Sweat drenches your shirt, but you welcome the wetness. Now it reminds you that your body still functions, still fights. Memories flood childhood games and sprinklers, the taste of lemonade on a summer afternoon, the embrace of a friend whose voice you can no longer recall. Those recollections swell into arrows of longing that pierce through determination. You stop at the dune's crest, hands trembling, and look out over the blank ocean of sand. For a moment, you feel utterly alone, but you are not alone. Your own heartbeat keeps company, a steady drum in the roaring silence. You place a hand over your chest, pressing into muscle and bone, reminding yourself that every thump is proof of life. You inhale deeply, forcing the desert air into your lungs, then exhale the doubts in a gust of stale breath. You whisper. Your heart carries you further. You tap your pack's strap and feel the reassuring bulk of your last ration and precious water. You recall the dew you coaxed and the pool you drank, evidence that persistence yields reward. You remind yourself that the desert may strip away comforts, but it cannot erase your will. Doubt is a shadow you need only let your resolve shine to dispel it. Turning away from the phantom memories, you descend the dune's leeward side, sand spraying behind you like sparks. The cool grains beneath your feet are a small comfort, and you let gravity ease your descent. Each slide down feels like shedding a layer of despair. You let out a breathless laugh, half joy, half defiance, as you reach the base and set your gaze on a distant plateau. Your legs ache, but you push onward, crossing a flat plain etched with wind-swept ripples. The sun's arc has shifted. Afternoon shadows lengthen and cool the sand even in the open. You press your palm to the ground, feeling its warmth ebb ever so slightly. You draw in a breath of that milder air and savor it like the last drop in your canteen. As you walk, images flash in your mind, that crocodile dung sunscreen, the trench you dug, the palms that saved you. Each memory is a talisman against doubt. You repeat them in your head like affirmations. You found water here. You endured the storm. You survived the night. The litany steals your heart and centers your mind. Ahead, the plateau rises in gentle steps, flat ledges of sandstone, interrupted by shallow gullies. You set a course for the nearest ledge, knowing that even a modest rise will grant a vantage and a breath of relief. You climb the first step, arms braced against sun-baked rock, and haul your weight upward. Every inch is hard won, but each is progress. At the plateau's top, you stand upright and survey the land. The dunes resume beyond, but you see something unexpected, a narrow band of darker stone running along the horizon. It may be a dry riverbed or a fault line. Either way, it hints at geological variation that could offer water or shelter. Your chest tightens with cautious anticipation, but doubt whispers again. What if it's another mirage? What if hope deceives you yet again? You close your eyes and press your fingertips to your temples. You take 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through pursed lips, and feel your pulse slow in measured rhythm. You ground yourself in the moment. No regret, no projection, only this breath, this heartbeat, this step, opening your eyes. You set your compass for that ridge of darker stone. The knowledge that you have a new target restores your clarity. You lean forward and begin the descent, feet finding purchase on fractured rock and compacted sand. Each stride feels surer, no longer stumbling through memory's haze, but moving with purpose. As you traverse the plateau's edge, the sun dips lower, painting the sky in molten copper. The desert warms into twilight gold, and the cooling effect is welcome. Your shoulders relax fractionally, and the doubt that once threatened to engulf you recedes into the background. You are not the same person who woke in the dunes. The crucible has forged you stronger. You descend to the plain below boots, crunching over pebbles, and let the momentum carry you. The band of darker stone draws closer your new beacon. And though shadows still lurk in your mind, you have learned to face them, to confront the doubts, and let your own heartbeat override the whispers. Foot by foot, you close the distance, each step an affirmation that you will not yield. The desert may challenge you, memory may haunt you, but you rise above both, driven by the certainty that you will reach tomorrow's dawn. Your pack feels impossibly heavier, now each strap pressing into blistered shoulders as if to remind you of every mile conquered. Your last water sips hover on your lips like a final chalice of hope. You resist the urge to taste it prematurely. Desperation must wait until necessity. You adjust the canteen's position against your chest, feeling the faint slosh of liquid within. 4 sips to sustain you through what remains of this crucible. You pick your way across fractured stone toward the dark band of ridge. Loose gravel shifts underfoot, and you test every foothold before committing your weight. The air cools in the descending sun, but your exertion rekindles the heat in your limbs. Sweat trickles down your spine, dampening the salt-crusted residue of days spent in relentless sun. You brace one hand on a rock face and haul your body upward, joint by joint, until you crest a small rise. Below lies a narrow gully carved by ancient floods, perhaps a wellspring of hidden moisture. You peer over its lip and note the smooth rocks lining its base, their color muted by shadow. You recall how water pooled in the trench you built and how that small trench yielded life. Here, the gully's contours could likewise cradle dew or runoff. You descend carefully, sliding on your feet to avoid kicking up gravel that could betray your presence to unseen eyes or drown out the faint drip of precious water. At the gully's floor, you kneel and brush away loose stones. Beneath them, the sand feels cooler, slightly damp to the touch. You trace a path with your fingertip, following a dark seam that glistens in the dying light. Your pulse hammers in your ears as you scoop a handful into your palm. Beads of moisture cling to the grains, promising signs of life in this arid tomb. You cup your hands and lift to your lips, savoring the taste of earth and dew mingled together. Each drop nourishes far more than parched flesh. It feeds conviction. With renewed vigor, you refocus on managing your reserves. You unscrew the canteen cap and draw the straw to your mouth. One sip, warm but sweet, you pause and let it spread warmth through your chest. Two sips, each counted carefully, each treasured. You tilt your head back and let the liquid slide down your throat, goosebumps rising on your arms despite the lingering heat. 3. The number echoes in your mind, 3 lifelines remaining. Your gaze drifts upward, tracing the hollow's shadowy walls. Somewhere in those crevices, droplets still linger at higher vantage points. But ascending now would squander reserves you can ill afford to lose. You cap the canteen and secure the straw, opting instead for the known quantity in your grasp. 3 sips to carry you through dawn's first light. You rise, knees crackling in protest, and lean into the wall for support. Your breath comes in rasps, but each inhale brings clarity. You remind yourself that every ounce of water has carried you this far. Discipline must guide its use now. You thrust off the rock planting feet firmly and ascend the gully's ridge with deliberate purpose. When you reach the top, you pause to look back at the desert expanse. The orange glow of sunset bleeds across the sands, and shadows pool in vast purple troughs. You feel a luminous serenity in that vista, a quiet affirmation that the world extends beyond your tribulations. You draw a slow breath and whisper, "You are part of this earth, and it sustains you." Night's chill begins to seep in, urging you to find shelter. Ahead, the dark stone ridge offers not only height, but crevices for refuge. You force aching legs into motion, each step echoing your mantra, step by step, drop by drop. You skirt a cluster of jagged boulders and navigate a narrow pass, hands brushing cool rock. You catch the scent of earth, a welcome reprieve from the stale grit of open dunes. You spot a shallow alcove carved into the ridge, its mouth half hidden by wind-sculpted stone. You duck inside and find a floor of coarse gravel that cushions your tired joints. The alcove's concave shape promises to trap residual warmth from the day's sun. You settle against the back wall, sliding ground-grown sweat from your skin, and flex your shoulders to ease the tension. With deliberate slowness, you unsnap your pack and extract your emergency blanket. You wrap it around your torso, the reflective side pressing against your chest like a living shield. You tuck your feet inside, creating a cocoon that will hold the day's heat close to your core. You feel the metallic rustle echoing softly in the alcove's hush, comforting in its familiarity. You tuck your gloves and bandana inside your shirt, layering the damp fabric against your skin where it matters most. Every layer counts. Insulating against the night is as vital as shielding from the day. You cap your canteen once more and cradle it between your knees, a treaty of trust between you and what remains of your water supply. You know those 3 sips must last until the desert yields its next gift. As darkness deepens, stars prick through the sky with icy clarity. You close your eyes and let the constellations guide you back to childhood wonder, Orion's belt, Cassiopeia's W, the North Star standing sentinel. They remind you that even in isolation, you belong to a vast cosmos. A calm washes over you. Your eyelids grow heavy, but you fight the urge to sleep too deeply. You sip once, sip number 4, warm sweetness, sliding down your throat. You savor it fully, letting the sensation anchor you to the present. 2 sips remain, one final gulp for the final push toward rescue. You tuck the straw into your pack, secure the cap, and nestle deeper into the alcove. The rock walls soften the cold, releasing the day's stored warmth like a gentle ember. You draw your knees to your chest and wrap arms around them, letting the blanket's circle shield you from the chilly night air. Your thoughts drift to tomorrow's journey. Dawn will bring new light, cooler air, and perhaps the path to safety. But for now, you rest in this stone cradle, heart steady, mind clear, and will unbroken. You murmur, you have survived 72 hours. You will survive the next. You take your final sip, a sip number 5, letting that last drop mark both an end and a beginning. You press the canteen back into your pack and let the hush of the desert envelop you. Sunlight creeps across the horizon in soft tendrils of pink and gold, stirring you from a shallow sleep in your rocky alcove. You press your palms against the cool stone floor, drawing in the crisp pre-dawn air as it slips past your scarf. Your muscles protest, but the promise of morning's glow fuels your resolve. You rise, stretching limbs that feel both heavy and electric with possibility. You tuck your emergency blanket back into your pack, careful not to snag its reflective edges, and secure your bandana over your mouth and nose. The last of the night's chill lingers on the rocks, and you pull your damp gloves over your hands to warm them against your breath. You lean into the alcove's mouth and peer out. The sky burns along the rim of the earth, and long shadows flow down the dune-strewn valley below. Your heart pulses with renewed determination. Dawn's arrival is a verdict. The desert's night trials are fading, and a new chapter begins. You remind yourself that every sunrise brings a chance to reset, to apply lessons from darkness to daylight's stark clarity. You clamp your pack straps across your chest and descend from the alcove into the budding dawn. The slope underfoot is firm with overnight consolidation. You step carefully, boots clicking against stone, and let gravity guide your descent toward the valley. Morning's palette softens the dunes' harsh contours, bathing them in pastel hues that belie their ruthless nature. You inhale deeply tasting freshness that feels almost sweet after days of aridity. As you enter the wadi below, you pause to stretch, pressing palms to your thighs and rolling your neck. Your body hums with the memory of yesterday's climbs and the night's rest, and you welcome the kinesthetic feedback of movement. You set a steady pace, each footfall absorbing the fading slipperiness of dawn's moisture. A half moon still hangs low in the sky, a pale sentinel above the dunes. You glance up, noting its waning crescent, and whisper gratitude to the night's guardian. Then you focus on your path, a series of low ridges that lead toward the darker stone band you spotted before. That ridge, once so distant, now seems within reach, beckoning you onward. You measure your progress in breaths rather than paces. Inhale, forward shift. Exhale, legs sink, rise. Each breath is a metronome, keeping your rhythm. You resist the urge to quicken. Conserving energy beats haste in this vast arena. Dawn's cooler air blunts the sun's bite, but exertion will raise your temperature swiftly. Your mind drifts to the water you coaxed from hidden seams, the damp trench you carved the oasis that revived you. Those triumphs are sacred talismans against despair. You recite them under your breath. You found dew. You drank life. You endured night. With each mantra, your shoulders straighten and your gaze sharpens. Mid-morning light filters through a narrow pass, illuminating dust motes that drift like motes of gold. You step into that glow, arms outstretched, as if testing a dream. The heat builds, but the desert's embrace feels less hostile, now more companion than adversary. You zip a pocket on your pack and reaffirm your course toward that stone ridge. You crest a small dune and spot the ridge's foothold, a broken escarpment of sandstone that catches the sun's first rays. Its ochre face glows warmly, and you feel a surge of relief. Height will grant both a view and a chance to spot any movement on the horizon. You set your sights on a narrow gully, cutting through the rock, deciding it will serve as your next waypoint. Your boots scrape against coarse gravel as you approach the escarpment's base. You lean forward, pressing palms to sun-warmed stone, and haul yourself up joint by joint until you stand on a ledge overlooking a vast stretch of dunes. Below, the shifting sands undulate like an open sea, and you sense both vulnerability and power in that panorama. Your lungs expand with the thinnest of air currents, and you relish the view. Every ridge, every trough, every mile you've traversed lies behind you. You remind yourself that distance is a measure of triumph, not fatigue. You trace the horizon for landmarks, darker rock bands, isolated outcrops, anything that promises guidance. You pack down your boots on the ledge's firm surface and bend to retrieve your canteen. 2 sips remain. You unscrew the cap and draw the straw to your lips. 1 sip, warm nectar that courses through your chest. 2, a final surge of clarity and vigor. You cap it and press the canteen to your chest, sealing the pact between you and your reserves. The sun climbs higher, its glare intensifying, but you've fortified your mind against panic. You reposition your scarf and bandana, ensuring no skin is exposed. You steady your pack and step away from the ledge's edge, planting your feet firmly on the plateau. The desert stretches in all directions, but you are no longer adrift. You set your compass for the ridge's distant curve, its shape now a familiar silhouette against the pale sky. You breathe deeply cold air in warm determination out and descend from the ledge into the sunlit plain. Each footfall is confident, measured, purposeful. The plateau gives way to rolling dunes once more, but the day's rhythm has changed. You no longer fear each crest. Instead, you welcome them as milestones on your path. You trudge up the next dune with ease born of experience, boots gripping where once they slipped. You glance back only briefly, acknowledging the vastness you've conquered. Ahead, the darker stone band awaits a waypoint and a promise. You push onward, spine straight gaze, fixed heart steady. Dawn has granted you renewed will, and you carry it into the next trial. The sun dips low, stretching your shadow across the dunes like a companion you never asked for. Ahead you glimpse movement, first a dark shape that vanishes when you blink, then a sharper outline, a figure standing at the crest of a distant dune. You pause mid-stride, heart hammering in your throat, convinced at once that rescue has arrived and that your mind is playing tricks. You shade your eyes and focus on the figure's silhouette. It stands upright, arms raised, perhaps in greeting or in warning. Your pulse accelerates. Adrenaline floods your veins, making your skin prickle. Could it be a search party, a wandering nomad with water to spare? You swallow hard, tasting dust and desperation. You muster strength you didn't know you had and begin to climb the dune toward that promise. Each step is a sprint of hope. You surge upward, boots tearing at the granular slope. Your arms pump, legs burn, but you press on, driven by the need to confirm that you are no longer alone. When you crest the dune, the silhouette dissolves into wavering heat waves. The figure was nothing more than an illusion of sand and light, a cruel trick of the desert, mocking your longing. You drop to your knees, hands scraping hot grains, and close your eyes, fighting a surge of despair. The dunes before you roll empty and merciless. You taste salt on your lips, but this time it's tears. Your heart sinks, doubt washing over you like a tidal wave. Perhaps you'll never see another human face. Perhaps your body will become another lost skeleton beneath this sun. You breathe deeply, inhaling the arid air that cuts through your lungs like glass. Then you remember your mantra step by step, drop by drop. Hope is not found in mirages, but in persistence. You push yourself upright, blinking away tears, and trudge onward. The dune's crest already feels farther behind you than you thought possible. The sky flushes with molten orange, and in that light you swear you see movement again, glinting metal, a flash of cloth, a ragged flag perched on a dune peak. You quicken your pace, swallowing fear and fatigue. This time you're cautious. You close the distance using dips and curves skirting the crest to approach from the leeward side where heat haze is less intense. Your pace falters as the shape resolves into a weather-beaten signpost, two thin posts driven into the sand, their planks gone long ago, leaving only jagged stubs. You swallow back rage and frustration. You sit on the slope, head in hands, and let the wind cool your brow. The signpost is a relic, perhaps from an old route across the desert, but its emptiness hurts more than the scorching sun ever did. You rise and study the posts, weathered, cracked, bleached by sun and sand. You trace a finger over one stub, feeling the rough grain of wood that has survived longer than any traveler. A fragment of hope and a fragment of history collide, reminding you that people have crossed this wasteland before and returned. Your chest tightens at the thought that you might too. You tuck the memory of phantom figures away and march onward, determined not to be fooled again. Yet, as dusk approaches, shapes continue to flicker on the horizon, clusters of tents, an approaching caravan, distant headlights that wink in the twilight. Each time you abandon caution and race toward salvation, only to find empty sands or twisted metal frameworks of ancient Bedouin traps. Every false rescue shapes your resolve. Each time you crest a dune to disappointment, you discover a new layer of stubbornness within yourself. The desert is testing your will, probing for cracks. You swallow dryness and press your lips together, letting the grit collect until it grounds you in reality. Nightfall arrives in streaks of violet and blue, and you pause atop another dune, weighing each direction. The horizon is a shifting tapestry of starlight and shadow. You see no rescue mirages now, only an endless sea of dunes under a clear sky. You realize that chasing illusions only drains what little remains of your strength. You pull your scarf over your mouth and nose, letting the fabric filter the cooling air. You squat and press both palms into the sand, feeling its residual warmth. You remind yourself that you've survived storms, thirst, and mirages. You whisper into the wind, mirage or real, you stand firm. As twilight deepens, you choose a bearing based on the position of the stars, setting your course by the North Star's steady glow. You test your compass once more. It wavers in the cold night air, but its general orientation reassures you. You tuck it into your pocket and stand spine straight, gaze fixed. You take one more look at the dunes behind you, at the phantom rescue you'll never reach, and then you step down the dune's face. Each descent removes the power of the illusion. Gravity pulls you away from false hope and back to hard-earned progress. Under the moon's pale light, you trudge across softer sand, letting the stars guide your path. You feel fatigue, but it is tempered by the knowledge that hope must be earned, not chased. You focus on the ground immediately before you trusting the constellations overhead to lead you true. The desert's silence surrounds you, no longer mocking, but indifferent. You welcome its honesty. You trudge onward into the deepening night, confident that every real step you take brings you closer to the world beyond these dunes, where rescue waits for those who persevere. Your body feels like lead as you press onward, each step a monumental effort, but in the distance you hear it, voices carried on the wind, faint but unmistakable human sounds. You pause, tilting your head, heart hammering so loudly you fear it will drown out the distant calls. They come again, hopeful shouts and the clatter of equipment on gravel. You swallow back disbelief and surge forward, driven by a single thought: rescue is real. Your legs quake with exhaustion, knees buckling beneath you, but you refuse to yield. You dig deep, tapping reserves of strength you didn't know you possessed. Each footfall is a victory, each stride a testament to the will that has carried you through 72 grueling hours. You force your arms to pump sweat, plastering your shirt to your back, but your forward motion never falters. The voices grow louder, more distinct, calling out your direction. You lift one hand to shade your eyes, scanning the horizon where the golden dunes meet a pale sky. Shapes emerge, silhouettes of figures and a vehicle's angular frame cresting the next ridge. You gasp at the sight, tears of relief stinging your eyes, and you plunge into a reckless sprint despite every protest from tendon and muscle. Sand sprays behind you in pastel plumes as you race up the dune's face. Your boots slip upslide, and you scramble against the incline and clawing at grains that threaten to betray your momentum. The voices crescendo, echoing across the sand with reassuring clarity. Over here, keep going. They buoy you, and you respond with a wordless roar, lungs burning, feet pounding. At the crest, you launch yourself over the ridge, landing in a shallow gully strewn with rocks. You skid forward, palms scraping the gravel, then spring to your feet as figures rush toward you. You don't slow. You barrel forward until arms encircle you, supportive and strong, lifting you upright. You gasp for air, chest heaving, and the voices swirl around you, concerned, joyous, urgent. A hand presses a canteen to your lips, and you drink greedily, emptying half its contents as you lean into the embrace of strangers. The cold liquid floods your throat and chest, igniting life in every sinew. You taste metal and water, and for a blissful moment, the desert's trials vanish. You blink rapidly, nose stinging from grit and tears, and you cling to the rescuers as if you might dissolve otherwise. They guide you to your feet with gentle firmness. You taste the fabric of their jackets, rough, warm, real. One rescuer drapes a windbreaker around your shoulders, its weight both comforting and disorienting. You press the fabric to your face, inhaling the scent of clean nylon and distant forests you can't quite name. You close your eyes and let it anchor you to sanity. They speak urgently into radios, their voices clipped but warm. You hear the crackle of their words. Patient stable, evac team inbound water, and medical on the way. You nod, too exhausted to form clear words, but you murmur a grateful thank you that emerges hoarse and sincere. They smile, guiding you toward the waiting vehicle. A four-wheel drive truck with its engine idling stands half buried in sand at the gully's edge. You stumble toward it, hands brushing against its metal side, reconnecting with the civilized world. One rescuer steadies you, helping you climb into the back. You collapse onto a padded bench pack, sliding off your shoulders, and you lay back, head lolling against the metal frame. They hand you a bottle of water, cold, fresh, full. You lift it with trembling fingers and gulp it down, water spilling onto your chin and into your lap. Each swallow revives you further, and you close your eyes to savor the pure coolness. The engine revs as the rescue vehicle rumbles forward, waking dust clouds that swirl behind you. You watch dunes recede through the open side panels, the landscape losing its menace with every meter. A rescuer sits beside you, offering a granola bar and a reassuring smile. You accept it without thought, tearing off a piece and chewing mechanically, feeling nourishment seep into your bones. You're alive, and someone cares enough to save you. The warmth of fellow humans and their equipment's hum rings in your ears like a lullaby. Your body trembles with lingering fatigue, but your mind feels lighter than it has in days. You rub your thumb against the pack's reflective strip and recall the emergency blanket crinkling in your alcove. You imagine it folded away, its job done. The truck climbs the dune's flank engine, straining against soft sand, and you grip the bench's edge as the slope levels. You allow yourself a moment to reflect on the journey's end, the mirages, the water, the storms, the nights of starlit desperation, and the final burst toward salvation. Each trial now feels like a badge of honor pinned to your soul. At the lip of the dune, the rescue team halts and helps you down. You stand on solid ground, crisp boots on gravel boots that no longer sink beneath your weight. You straighten, brushing sand from your clothes, and you feel every inch of your body reacquainted with steadiness. A med kit opens nearby, and medical personnel check your vitals. You hear your pulse in their monitor's steady beep, and you press a hand to your chest. Yes, that's you still here. Someone lifts a soft blanket around your shoulders, and you let it wrap you in security. You look up at faces lined with concern and relief, and you manage a shaky smile. They guide you to a shaded canopy where supplies await. You rest on a cot, hands clasped together, and for the first time in days, you allow your guard to drop completely. Cool water is poured over a cloth. A rescuer dabs at your forehead, neck, and arms, cooling the heat that lingers beneath your sunburn. You close your eyes against the gentle touch, letting their care wash over you like oxygen. You whisper, "I made it," and they nod, affirming the truth you can hardly believe. Around you, the desert stretches silent, beyond the canopy dunes rolling like golden waves. But within this small oasis of human compassion, you feel anchored. You rest your head against the cot exhaustion, claiming you, but a soft smile crosses your face. You have fought, persevered, and now embraced salvation. Night drapes itself across the desert in velvet folds, and you stand beneath a sky bursting with stars, their cold light far removed from the sun's punishing glare. The rescue crew has departed, leaving you in a small camp of medical tents and warming lanterns, but you choose solitude. You walk to the edge of the clearing, boots crunching on gravel, and gaze back at the dunes that tested you. Your chest heaves with emotion, relief, pride, exhaustion, all mingling into a single steady pulse. You inhale the cool night air, letting it fill your lungs and wash through every cell. Each breath is a benediction, a celebration of survival. You taste the crispness of victory alongside lingering dust, and you close your eyes, feeling the desert's pulse beneath your feet. In the days to come, this landscape will become a memory: the sweltering dawns, the sandstorms, the mirages that lured you forward, and the trenches you carved for refuge. But tonight it is both adversary and teacher, a vast crucible that forged your resolve in relentless heat and searing cold. You trace an arc in the sand, with your toe carving a simple line to mark your passage. You remember every step that first rise at dawn when the dunes stretched endless, the irrational faith that coaxed dew from arid seams, the sanctuary of palms, the phantom figure that taught you to trust action over hope. Each memory binds together a mosaic of trial and triumph. You whisper, "I carry each moment with me." The camp's lanterns flicker behind you, their glow soft against the night. You turn and walk back toward them, sand giving way to gravel underfoot. The warmth of human presence draws you like a lodestone, but you linger between worlds wild and civilized, past and future. You pause at the tent's entrance and look back once more at the dunes' silhouettes etched in silver moonlight. You step inside where blankets and hot tea await. A medic offers you a cup, and you accept, feeling its warmth seep into your cold fingers. You wrap your palms around the mug and sip, tasting sweetness that contrasts with the bitterness you endured. You inhale the steam, and close your eyes, letting comfort and warmth settle into your bones. Inside the tent, a soft bed and clean sheets call to you. You shed your boots and clothes, each layer removed, like a badge of suffering laid down in reverence. You slide between the sheets, the fabric cool and welcoming against your scarred skin. Every muscle relaxes, surrendering to rest. You reach out and switch off the lantern, plunging the tent into near darkness save for the stars that glimpse through a small flap above. The desert's hush enters here too, mingling with soft breathing from adjacent cots. You exhale deeply and feel the day's trials recede. In this quiet sanctuary, your thoughts drift back to the mantra that carried you through step by step, drop by drop. You whisper it one final time, a vow etched into your spirit. You recall the face of every sunrise and every sunset, the taste of each precious sip, the feel of sand and stone beneath your hands. These memories will become your strength, a reminder that you can endure beyond measure. You close your eyes and let reflection drift. The desert is no longer a threat, but a testament to your will. You were tested in fire and storm and emerged unbroken. The lessons remain: hope is forged through action, resilience through discomfort, and peace through acceptance. Your breath slows, each exhale softer than the last. You feel the weight of survival settle warmly in your chest. The world beyond this tent continues. Morning will come. New journeys will begin, but tonight, you rest. You murmur into the darkness. Thank you, desert. Thank you, self. I have survived. The night's hush envelops you like a soft blanket as your heartbeat slows and every muscle unwinds into restful surrender. You lie beneath crisp sheets, the cool fabric, a gentle contrast to sunburned skin, and allow the day's memories to soften and blur at their edges. Each trial, the blistering heat, the biting cold, the swirling sands fades into the background, replaced by a warm glow of accomplishment. In this calm moment, you let each inhale fill you with quiet gratitude, and each exhale release the tension that clung to your bones. The desert's final gift is this peace, a lullaby composed of cool night air, distant starlight, and the soothing rhythm of your breath. You trace the echo of whispered mantras step by step, drop by drop, feeling their truth settle into your soul. Warm tea rests on a nearby table, its steam curling like a silent promise of renewal. You imagine its gentle sweetness flooding your senses, carrying away any remnants of fear or fatigue. In your mind, you replay the shape of every dune, the taste of each precious sip of water, and the feel of resilience blossoming in your chest. Each memory is a stepping stone to tranquility. Your eyelids grow heavy as starlight filters through the tent's flap, painting soft patterns on the sheets. You permit yourself to dread drifting deeper with each gentle breath. The world beyond this haven may demand strength and action once more, but for now, there is only this stillness. You let the desert's silent wisdom cradle you, that even the most relentless trials can yield serenity, that scars are badges of honor, and that true rest is a sanctuary within yourself. In this space between wakefulness and dreams, you let go of worry and allow hope to settle. As sleep's embrace takes you, you murmur a final promise to your unbroken heart: tomorrow I will rise anew. Then, enveloped in peace and pride, you surrender to the night.